That monthly payment that quietly removes itself from your bank account means that there's something in your house right now that you don't own. You use it every day. You'd call it yours without thinking. But somewhere there's a company with a claim on it, and if the payments stop, it goes back. You probably think that's a modern arrangement. A woman sits down at her sewing machine. It's under the window in her parlor. She threads it without looking. The year is 1856. Her neighbors know it's hers. Her children know it's hers. It is not hers. It belongs to a company she has never once walked into, and it stays theirs until the last payment clears. 67 years later, in a city that's just watched an empire collapse, that same company will send men into abandoned houses to take machines back off the tables, and they'll have the paperwork to do it. I'm Silas Whitlock, and this is Cross-Wired History. Familiar stories, unexpected connections. A fixed number, a fixed date, a thing you already have that you're still paying for. We file that under finance, banks, credit bureaus. 4 little payments on a checkout screen. It didn't come from a bank. It came from a man standing on a porch with the machine still in the crate. Singer & Company has a problem, and it isn't demand. They've built a machine for the household, smaller, quieter, meant for a room with curtains in it, and everybody wants one. $125. Almost nobody has $125. The exact figure drifts depending on the model and the year, but the gap doesn't move. Everybody wants one. Nobody can buy one. That gap is where this whole story lives. Edward Clark, Singer's partner, and the man who handled the parts of the business that weren't iron, floats an idea that year in the company's own house publication. He puts it as a question. Why not rent the machine to the housewife and let the rent become the purchase? She isn't borrowing money. Nobody hands her $100. There's no lender, no note, no interest in the way we'd recognize it. She's renting a machine that turns into hers at the end, which means that until the end, it is Singer's. And Singer meant that. Not as a formality, as a position the company was prepared to defend in a courtroom, in a different century, on a different continent. The plan wasn't paper. The plan was people. A canvasser brought the machine to the house. He carried it in. He set it up. He sat with her and showed her how to thread it and where to put her hands, because a machine nobody can operate comes back. Then, before he left, he took the first payment. And the man who carried it in is the man who comes back when a payment is missed. That's the invention. Not the terms, the visit. In Mexico, where Singer's records survive in unusual detail, the job eventually splits in two: vendedores and cobradores, sellers and collectors. 2 titles, 2 payrolls, 1 road. The second one is why the first one works. Because the pressure on that woman at the treadle isn't a contract she read once. It's a man on a schedule, walking up a street where the neighbors can see him. Singer sold her efficiency, sold her independence even, a machine that would hand back her hours. It also put those hours up as collateral. Both of those are true, and the company never had to choose between them. The canvasser walks back down the road with a notebook in his coat and her address written in it. Singer builds about 2,500 machines in 1856. By 1860, roughly 13,000 a year. By 1861, the company is selling more machines abroad than at home. It travels because it isn't a deal, it's a procedure. Singer doesn't hand credit to independent shopkeepers and hope. It hires. Regional managers, travelers, canvassers, collectors, branch offices, lease accounts, payment reports, correspondence flowing back to a central desk. Other people had sold on time before. What Singer built was something you could ship, a system that would run the same way in Glasgow that it ran in Ohio, staffed by men who had never met each other. And when it doesn't run, there's a word for that. In Singer's own Mexican records, a machine taken back from a customer who couldn't finish paying is not repossessed. It's reverted, as though the machine were simply returning to where it had always belonged, which, legally, is exactly what it was doing. The euphemism is the evidence. Between 1894 and 1897, mass violence against Armenian communities across the Ottoman Empire kills and scatters people on an enormous scale. Singer's agents report customers murdered, stock burned, records gone. The company's response is administrative. It cuts stock, restricts credit, starts asking for half the money up front. Terms tighten exactly where the company stops believing it can find you. And in 1923, after the empire has collapsed, Singer files with an abandoned property commission in Istanbul to recover machines left behind in emptied houses, on the grounds that the installments were never completed. The paperwork outlives the world it was written in. On the other side of the planet, and 9 years earlier, Mexico, 1914. Revolution. The roads stop being safe. Collectors can't travel. Offices are looted. Ledgers vanish. Machines drift loose into second-hand markets with nobody's name attached to them. The machines still exist. The customers still exist. The debts still exist. What's gone is knowing which house. Strip away the war, and you can see the architecture in one line. The system never ran on money. It ran on knowing where people live. He allegedly got it out of a piano showroom. Pianos had been going into parlors on monthly terms for years. Fixed amount, fixed date, and the dealer holding the paper until it was finished. Clock salesmen in Connecticut appear to have sold on time. A New York furniture house may have been doing something like it as early as 1807, though nobody has found the contract. Pianos went into parlors on monthly terms, in showrooms built to make you feel like the kind of person who owns one, and Clark reportedly lifted the idea straight out of the piano trade. Deferred payment, retained title, fixed schedules, all of it before 1856. The pieces were never missing. They were never in one hand, and one man nearly got there first, Cyrus McCormick. By 1849, he's producing around 1,500 reapers a year, with licensees across 4 states and agents responsible for entire territories. He lets farmers pay between harvests. His stated principle was that he'd rather wait for the money than make the farmer wait for the machine he needs. That's deferred payment at nearly national reach 6 years early. And it's a different animal. McCormick's machine paid for itself at harvest. Credit on a tool that generates the money to cover itself extended to a man with land you can find. No fixed monthly date, no collector on the porch, no title held over an object sitting in somebody's parlor. McCormick helped a man buy a reaper. He didn't invent your car payment. What Singer built was the first of its kind at national scale aimed at the household, with collection and repossession engineered directly into the sales force. The archive confirms the machine, the company, the date, the system. $5 down is documented. The monthly figure everyone repeats doesn't attach to any surviving contract or advertisement. Harvard's business historians put the first-year sales increase at roughly triple, without showing the table it came from. And $1 down, $1 a week, the most quotable line in this entire story, belongs to the 1890s, roughly 40 years after the moment it keeps getting attached to. Decades and continents compressed into one clean origin story. Credit wasn't working alone either. Singer had better design, a patent pool, mass production, overseas factories, showrooms, advertising, repairmen. A specialist would tell you credit didn't do this by itself, and the specialist would be right. But strip the company down to what outlasted it. Not the machine, not the treadle, not the iron, not the parlor. A fixed schedule. An object you hold before you've paid for it. And somewhere behind it, an operation whose entire job is knowing where it went. Same 3 parts. The door-to-door salesman might be gone. The rest of this story is in your pocket. Or you can sit at it, use it, drive it, or show it to a neighbor. Remember, history isn't a straight line. Keep looking for that next connection.